Hi, Algebra 2. In this video, I'm going to be going over how to solve quadratic equations by the square root method. And we're going to have examples where we have 2 real solutions, 1 real solution, or no real solutions. So starting with the example 1 all the way on the left, I have -2 times x minus 2 squared plus 7 equals -25. So I always say my first step is to get rid of anything outside the parentheses. And I do that using SAD-MEP, which is the reverse of PEMDAS. So I need to handle any subtraction or addition before I do any multiplying or dividing. So I have -2 multiplying outside of the parentheses, and I have +7 adding outside the parentheses. And since I'm following SAD-MEP, that means I need to get rid of the +7 first. So to get rid of +7, I'm going to subtract 7 on both sides. That leaves me with -2 times x minus 2 squared equals -32. Now my next step is to get rid of the -2, and I'm going to do that by dividing because it's multiplying. And when I divide by -2, I'm left with x minus 2 squared equals +16. Now that I've gotten rid of everything outside of the parentheses, this is the part where I get rid of the squared. So I have the x minus 2 is being squared, and in order to get x by itself, I have to get rid of the squared part. Now we know the inverse or opposite operation of squaring something is to square root it. So I am going to want to square root both sides, but I have to remember the important part in this step is that I take the plus or minus square root of the number on the right. Okay, because we're basically thinking, okay, what number squared would give me +16? And there's actually 2 options. 4 squared gives me 16, or -4 squared also gives me 16. 4 times 4 is 16, and -4 times -4 is 16. So I have to consider both of those options. So in order to remind myself that I need to have either x minus 2 is equal to +4 or -4, I just say take the plus or minus square root of 16. So this is going to give me 2 equations. It's going to give me x minus 2 equals +4. Remember, we took the square root on the left, which means the squared part is gone, so we're just left with x minus 2. And x minus 2 is also equal to -4. These are both possible solutions that we have to find. Now my last step is just to get rid of whatever's left inside the parentheses, which was -2. So to get rid of a -2, I can add 2 on both sides for each equation. So that gives me 2 solutions of x equals 6 and x equals -2. They are both solutions. I have 2 real solutions that are x equals 6 and x equals -2. So you always have to make sure you're finding all of the solutions. And so when you're taking the square root, you have to consider the positive possibility. In this case, that was +4 squared gives us 16, and the negative possibility, which in this case, that was -4 squared, also gives us +16. Now we'll remember that going forward. For example 2, we have 2x squared plus 6 equals 4. So this time I don't have any parentheses, okay, but I'm still going to want to get rid of everything that's not everything except for x, because I'm trying to get x by itself. So still following SAD-MEP, I have 2 multiplying the x squared and 6 adding to the x squared. So I need to subtract 6 first on both sides. So I get 2x squared equals -2, okay. And then I'm going to divide by 2 to get rid of the 2 being multiplied. So I have x squared equals -1. Now this is the step where I would take the square root because I'm trying to get x by itself, so I need to get rid of the squared. And I have to remember to do the plus or minus square root over here. Now the problem is I'm taking the square root of a -1, which I know I cannot take the square root of a negative number. So I actually cannot continue. I cannot actually get a solution here. So we say there's no real solution. Okay. So if you see that you are taking the plus or minus square root of something that's negative, then you cannot finish solving it. At that point, there's no real solution. We will learn more about this later and how you can find a solution for it, but this is not a real solution. So for example 3, we have 5 times x minus 3 squared equals 45. So again, following SADMAP, I need to get rid of anything outside the parentheses, which is 5. So I need to divide by 5 on both sides. So I'm left with x minus 3 squared equals 9. Now I'm at the point where I can get rid of my square by taking the plus or minus square root. Okay, so when I take the square root, I'm left with x minus 3 on the left, but then on the right, I have two possibilities, right? I have either the positive square root of 9 or the negative square root of 9, and square root of 9 is 3, so that means x minus 3 could be positive 3, or x minus 3 could be negative 3. I have to solve for both options. Okay, and then my last step is just to add 3 in both equations, so I get x equals 6, and x equals 0. Those are my two real solutions. Finally, example 4, we have x squared minus 7 equals negative 7. Okay, so the first thing I need to get rid of is the minus 7. So I'm going to add 7 on both sides. I get x squared equals 0. Now to get rid of the square, I have to take the square root plus or minus square root. Now with 0, there's really no such thing as like a positive or negative 0. 0 is neutral. So I'm actually only going to have one option here. There's not a positive 0 and a negative 0. It's just the square root of 0 is 0. The only number squared that gives you 0 is 0. So we're actually just going to have x equals 0 as our only solution. So we have one real solution here. Okay? Great. Okay, well, hopefully this helps you do your homework, and let me know if you have any questions.